Howdy, folks, and a warm welcome back to the Deep Dive. Go on, gather around, make yourselves comfy now. Today, we're tapping into something that feels just about as old as these Tennessee hills, and maybe as mysterious as a moonlit night down by the creek. You ever get that feeling? Like the universe has got its own way of whispering secrets if we just, learn how to listen close.
That's right. That deep sense of connection, that feeling of being part of some larger cosmic dance. Well, that's something humans have pondered for centuries, truly. And it leads us right to a really ancient tool for tuning into those whispers. The I Ching, the Book of Changes. For generations, folks right here and all over the world have turned to it, just seeking a little bit of light on their path.
The I Ching. Yeah, it carries this kind of mystique, don't it? You hear folks talking about eerie divinations and timeless wisdom. Sounds like something passed down through generations, maybe sitting on the porch swaying, and yet it's held its weight all this time. And today, we're going to explore how you, right where you are, can maybe draw from that same well of wisdom for your own journey.
Exactly. And for this exploration, we'd actually like to invite y'all to join us in a shared moment of, let's say, quiet reflection. See, the I Ching often speaks most clearly when you've got a question that truly matters to you, something you're really turning over in your heart. So the question we'll all kind of be holding in our awareness today is this one. I am meditating on my life path. For this day, I have a question that needs guidance that I am holding in consciousness.
Hmm.
But you keep your own specific question nestled right there in your thoughts as we delve deeper, okay?
That's right. Hold that question close now.
Yeah.
Now, in our time together today, we're going to walk through how you can get ready to ask. How to use something as simple as, well, pocket change to get your guidance. How to understand those ancient symbols, the hexagrams and trigrams, and what it all means when things start to kind of shift in the reading. Yeah. All right, so let's take a closer look at that question you're holding.
Right. Crafting your question, doing it thoughtfully, that's really the first key. The I Ching tends to respond best to those inquiries that carry genuine weight for you. A question that, like those old texts suggest, truly resonates, deep down in your heart and mind.
So not just wondering if you should have the fried green tomatoes or the okra for supper tonight. Needs a bit more heft.
Precisely. Needs a bit more substance than that. And it's often helpful, really helpful, to actually jot your question down. Privately, of course. This act of writing, it can bring a sharper focus, just making sure there's no fog around what you're truly seeking insight into.
Yeah, that makes good sense. Helps keep the mind on track, I reckon. Now, what kind of questions seem to open up the best guidance? Seems like a simple yes or no might fall a little flat here.
You're absolutely right about that. The I Ching offers, layers of understanding, different perspectives. So your question should kind of invite that type of response. Maybe consider phrasing like, what if I were to move in this direction? Or what's the deeper current really at play in this situation? Questions starting with, what is the heart of this matter? Those can also be very revealing.
Okay, so we're looking to understand the whole landscape, not just get a quick point on the map. Gotcha. Now, this here is where it gets particularly interesting to me. I have heard tell that the I Ching might actually speak to the real question weighing on your spirit, even if the words you wrote down are maybe a little different. That's a notion that makes you pause and think, don't it?
It certainly hints at a deeper connection, doesn't it? The idea is that your focused intention, the very act of turning your mind towards the I Ching with a sincere question, creates a kind of link, perhaps even a resonance with a wider field of awareness. Maybe akin to what those ancient thinkers called the subtle energies of the cosmos. So even if your written question isn't a perfect mirror of your deepest concern, the I Ching might still offer guidance on what truly lies at the core of your present awareness. It's quite something.
Well, that definitely gives you something to chew on. All right, then. Questions simmering nicely. Time to reach into our pockets for those coins.
That's the very next step.
Yep.
You'll need 3 identical coins. Now, some traditions favor older coins, maybe ones with some history, but honestly, any 3 coins of the same type will serve you perfectly well. Now comes the casting. You'll do this act a total of 6 times, 6 tosses. The first 3 casts, they build what's known as the lower trigram, and the next 3, those form the upper trigram. And remember, this is important. You record these lines starting from the bottom and going upwards.
Bottom to top, like stacking stones on the riverbank. Got it.
Yeah.
Now, what are we watching for when those coins hit the table? Heads and tails, I reckon.
Exactly. You just observed the pattern of heads and tails. Sometimes heads are called beads, so you might see that term if you're reading about it. Don't let it throw you. Each time you toss the 3 coins, the mix of heads and tails corresponds to a specific type of line. It'll be either a solid, unbroken line, or a dashed line, one with a break in the middle. Now, pay attention here. If all three coins land heads up, or if all three land tails up, three of a kind, the line you draw isn't just solid or dashed, it gets marked, usually with a dot or a little circle. It's a special kind of line.
A dotted line. So a little something extra going on there. What does that signify? We'll circle back to that, I imagine. So, okay, 3 coin tosses. Record the lines going up, bottom line first, then the next, then the third. That's our lower trigram. Then 3 more tosses. Same process for the upper trigram, stacking them on top. Now we've got 6 lines all stacked together. What do we call that whole picture?
That 6-line figure, that's your hexagram. It's the central symbol. The thing will be interpreted. Now, to find its specific wisdom, its meaning within the I Ching text, you need to figure out which one of the 64 possible hexagrams you've actually arrived at. And this is where those lower and upper trigrams you just built come into play, kind of like pieces of a puzzle fitting together.
All right, so the 2 trigrams, the bottom 3 lines, and the top 3, they work together to pinpoint our hexagram in the book, or the chart. How do we make that connection?
You'll typically use a chart. Most I Ching books have one. It shows how the 8 possible lower trigrams combine with the 8 possible upper trigrams to create each one of the 64 hexagrams. Each hexagram has its own number, 1 through 64. Think of those 8 trigrams as like fundamental building blocks of energy or situations. The chart is basically a map showing you exactly which of the 64 hexagram structures you've built by combining your particular lower trigram with your particular upper trigram. Now, remember those dotted lines we mentioned?
Yeah, the 3 of a kind tosses.
Right. When you're using this chart just to find your initial hexagram number, you essentially ignore the dots for a moment. Just treat a dotted solid line as solid and a dotted dashed line as dashed for finding that first number. The dots come into play later.
Okay, so we use the basic trigrams, find our hexagram number on the chart, then turn to that page or section in the I Ching book. And that's where the heart of the matter lies, right? The words of insight pertaining to your question, like you said.
Precisely, that's it. Each of the 64 hexagrams has a corresponding text and interpretation within the I Ching, and it's really vital to approach reading this interpretation with an open heart and a quiet mind. Try to let go of any rigid expectations you might have about what it should say. Just allow the ancient wisdom of the text to speak to your inner understanding, to your situation.
So it's less about finding some kind of fortune cookie answer and more about gaining a different way to look at things, maybe a deeper perspective. And it mentions somewhere that your intuition will confirm whether or not you have been enlightened. Sounds like you got to listen to that still small voice inside, that gut feeling.
Absolutely. That's a huge part of it. It's a process of engaging with the symbolic language and seeing how it applies, how it resonates with the unique circumstances of your life, your question. It's about seeking that deeper resonance, that click of understanding, and your own inner knowing, your intuition, plays a crucial role in recognizing when that understanding dawns.
Okay, so we've cast our coins, put together our first hexagram, found its initial teaching or meaning. But what about those dotted lines? You mentioned they were special. They meant something more.
They are indeed special. Those dotted lines, or changing lines, as they're often called, indicate that the initial hexagram isn't the whole story. It signifies that the situation is dynamic. It's soon to undergo a change. They point to a potential shift, a movement within the situation you're asking about. So things aren't just stuck. Not set in stone. There's movement and potential for things to evolve.
Exactly. It shows where the energy is active, where transformation is likely, and to gain insight into where things might be headed, where that change might lead. You then look to a second hexagram. This second hexagram is formed by taking your initial hexagram and changing all of the dotted lines to their opposite. So a dotted solid line becomes a regular dashed line, and a dotted dashed line becomes a regular solid line. Any lines that weren't dotted stay exactly the same.
Like flipping a switch just on those specific dotted lines. And this new hexagram, this second hexagram, what does it reveal? What's its purpose?
This second hexagram, according to tradition, is predicting a likely future condition regarding the question that you've asked. It offers insight into the potential outcome or the direction the situation is moving toward. And just like you did with the first hexagram, you'll then consult the I Ching text for the meaning of the second hexagram. You find its number using its new lower and upper trigrams and the chart, same method as before. So the first hexagram kind of paints the picture of right now, the current dynamics, and the second one gives us a peek down the road where things might be moving. That's mighty interesting. Now, this I Ching, like we said, it's been around for a long, long spell, thousands of years, right? It must touch on some common threads, some wisdom that just keeps showing up for folks again and again.
Oh, absolutely. Across the vast landscape of those 64 hexagram interpretations, certain timeless principles definitely emerge. They echo through the ages. For instance, you'll often encounter the idea of correct persistence, knowing when it's right to hold firm to your principles or your path, and just as importantly, knowing when it's time to adapt your course, to be flexible. Another frequent theme is the importance of aligning yourself with the natural flow of events, the Tao, you might say, moving with the way things are unfolding in their own time, not pushing against the river.
Yeah, like learning to row with the current, not fighting against it all the time. Makes sense.
Precisely. Other recurring insights include, well, the value of seeking support and collaboration, especially when facing difficulties. You don't always have to go it alone. Also, the profound lessons that come simply through lived experience, through learning by doing, and the wisdom of cultivating patience and inner trust, especially while waiting for the right moment, the opportune time to act. You'll also find guidance on the importance of avoiding unnecessary conflict or confrontation, finding strength in unity, in cooperation with those around you, and of course the responsibilities that naturally come with leadership, if that's your position.
It's like real practical, down-to-earth wisdom, even though it's dressed up in these ancient symbols and robes. What other kinds of nuggets might folks find in there?
Well, you'll certainly discover the importance of moderation and restraint in your actions, not going to extremes, the beauty of seeking harmony in your relationships and your environment, the power of quiet contemplation, of just being still and observing, and the need for flexibility, for reform, for change when circumstances truly require it. There's also a big emphasis on nurturing inner qualities like serenity, peace of mind, recognizing the cyclical nature of life, this idea of repetition or patterns, and the significance of nurturing, of caring for yourself and others. Even when facing potential danger or tricky spots, the I Ching often advises maintaining that inner calm, that integrity, and kind of running through it all like a golden thread is this striving for enlightened intelligence, seeking clarity, seeking wisdom, and aligning your actions with a greater understanding of how things work.
Wow. So it's really like a compass and a guidebook all rolled into one, ain't it?
Right.
For navigating all the ups and downs life throws at us, helping us maybe grow a little wiser along the way.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. It offers a framework. It's a symbolic language for understanding the currents of life and really encourages thoughtful reflection before you act.
Well, shoot, this has been a real journey into some deep waters, some ancient wisdom.
Mm.
So just to kind of bring it all back together for folks listening at home, first, we settle our minds, focus on a question that really matters, maybe jot it down privately. Then we grab 3 coins, give them a toss 6 times, building our hexagram from the ground up, remembering bottom to top. If we happen to get 3 heads or 3 tails on a toss, that line gets a special dot. It's a changing line. Then we use the pattern of solid dashed lines at our lower and upper trigrams to find our hexagram number on the chart and ponder the guidance for that number in the I Ching book. And if we did have any of those dotted changing lines, we flip them to their opposite to make a second hexagram and look up its meaning to see where things might be heading. Seems like something pretty much anyone can try, don't it?
That's exactly right. It's a practice that's truly open to everyone. No special qualifications needed, just sincerity. And it's a remarkable tool for self-reflection that can often yield some surprising and genuinely valuable insights.
Now think back for a second, folks. Think back to that question you were holding in your heart at the beginning of our time together today, the one based on our shared prompt about your life path for the day. As we've been talking about hexagrams and trigrams and changing lines, has anything stirred within you? Any little sparks of understanding about your own situation, your own thinking?
You know, this whole process really underscores that fascinating dance between our inner world, our deepest questions, our intentions, and the element of what appears to be chance, represented by the simple fall of the coins. It really invites you to consider, how might the very act of focusing your mind, your intention, and then observing what seems like a random pattern, how might that actually reveal deeper patterns, deeper truths about your path? Maybe truths you weren't even consciously aware of before asking.
My goodness, that's a powerful idea right there. Something to really mull over.
Yeah.
So for folks listening who are feeling that little tank, that spark of cosmic curiosity, what's the next step? Where do they go from here?
Well, I would heartily, truly encourage you to delve in a little further on your own time. Go seek out an online resource. There are many good ones. Or, even better if you can, find yourself a physical copy of the I Ching. Hold it in your hands. And then try the coin casting method yourself. Pick a question that truly resonates with you right now. See what insights begin to emerge when you engage with it sincerely. It's a journey of self-discovery, really, one that stretches back through countless generations.
Absolutely. Give it a go, folks. Might just surprise yourselves at what you discover about your own path ahead. And hey, if you've enjoyed this little dip into the ancient wisdom of the I Ching with us today, well, y'all know the drill by now. Give that like button a friendly tap, share your thoughts, or maybe even your own experiences with us down in the comments. We love hearing from you. And most importantly, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on our future deep dives into all sorts of thought-provoking topics like this one. Thanks for joining us down here today, y'all. Really appreciate you tuning in.
Yes, thank you. And until our next exploration together, may your own inner wisdom be a clear guide on your way.